Prince Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud, also known as MBS, is the future king of Saudi Arabia. Women, cars, boats, yachts, and houses. Anything is his. Makes sense given that he and the entire royal family is worth $1.4 trillion. But is there more to the young prince besides his desire to live life to the fullest? Can he be a progressive king one day, or will he continue the reign of corruption and greed? In order to answer this, let's dive into the history of his rise to power to rationale behind his ideas. After his father, King Salman, was appointed the new sire of Saudi Arabia, MBS was not appointed as prince initially. Instead, he was made defense minister and was appointed to be in charge of the state-run oil company. In other words, he was in charge of the money. Saudi Arabia is controlled by oil. Their oil is worth more than Berkshire Hathaway, Facebook, and Amazon combined. It's the current status quo. Every aspect of their society, whether it be healthcare, transportation, or housing, is dependent on what MBS calls their oil addiction. The oil addiction supports free universal healthcare and cheap subsidized housing for the people. It also supports the lavish lifestyle of MBS, the king, and other members of the royal family. It is how he owns over 100 properties worldwide. It's how he owns gold vehicles. It's how he can swipe his credit card for Leonardo da Vinci's painting and not get a call from the credit card company proclaiming some type of fraud. However, in 2016, MBS announced a new plan to upend the status quo and usher in a new era of economic growth and revolution in the Saudi Arabian nation. He coined the plan as Vision 2030. The purpose? To get rid of the oil addiction and privatize their economy. Part of the plan is to revolutionize all sectors of their society, including but not limited to healthcare, transportation, tourism, energy, and much more. However, with change comes dissidence, and the way MBS handled his dissidence is more questionable than progressive. The first act of corruption came with throwing his cousin, the previous crown prince, into jail in order for him to take the new spot of heir. Later down the road, he also threw dozens of religious leaders into prison, as well as locking up 200 political and business people into the Ritz-Carlton for 15 months. But was this all due to the Vision 2030 plan? MBS's plan considered social revolution as well as economic revolution. Part of his social revolution was free rights for women, allowing foreign movies to be played in movie theaters, and strip religious police from making arrests. The religious leaders were not happy with MBS's decisions. This was because MBS violated the pact between the royal family and the clerics of Saudi Arabia. The pact declared the religious leaders would have power to enforce their religious laws in exchange for recognizing the religious royalty of MBS and his family. MBS didn't care. He broke the pact. Then religious leaders spoke out, then he threw them in jail. Other dissidents derived from MBS's foreign affair efforts. After upending his cousin from his princeship, MBS sanctioned and imposed blockades on Qatar. This was most likely due to their business in Iran. Dissidents are one thing, but MBS was still enjoying his lavish lifestyle. He had world leaders like President Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, and many more come visit his royal palace. MBS might be corrupt, he might be a visionary, but he knows how to host a party. Many of his visitors have claimed he is a host of the future. MBS wastes no costs when it is impressing his guests. For MBS, it's not hard to impress world leaders and visitors, given that he has houses all over the world such as palaces in Spain, France, Morocco, Sweden, and many more. And with the impressive properties comes his expensive clothes that he likes to show off. It's rumored that his clothes are threaded with real gold and silver. Even simple living room vanities such as Kleenex dispensers, coffee tables, or chairs are decorated with gold plates and detailing. Vision 2030 might be his grand idea, but it doesn't seem to stress him as he has no regret opening up his wallet and ordering breakfast from France and receiving it an hour later. But if he's not eating in one of his million-dollar homes, he's eating his glorious breakfasts on his $500 million yacht. Again, this man is made out of money, and he has no regret when spending. His same philosophy applies to achieving his political goals. His money had journalists jailed and killed, his political dissidents locked up for months on end, and even his own cousin dethroned and embarrassed in the name of his own pride and glory. MBS is not one to play with either. Around 2019, it was alleged he hacked into Jeff Bezos' personal phone for unknown reasons. One can speculate it was for intelligence purposes, or maybe MBS wanted to see if Bezos' yacht's bathroom was more glamorous than his own. Who knows? But what we do know is that MBS is a man of power and wealth, and he buys what he wants to live life to the fullest. Will Vision 2030 play out? Who knows? Will he bring the social and economic revolution that he talks so highly about? Again, who knows? What we do know is that he will eventually own a couple more yachts, a couple more cars, and even a couple more palaces, and his wallet will feel no dent. MBS is a king in the making, and his lifestyle is the most glamorous out of all of the rulers in all of history. While the great Saudi prince Mohammed bin Salman lives like a king among men, there is still hope he shares his God's-given wealth to the poor, as there is no wealth like knowledge, and no poverty like ignorance.